Welcome back to This Is JOB, the podcast. I'm so sorry. We've been on this traveling whirlwind thing where we've been trying to build content for YouTube, and I haven't been uploading once a week like I promised. But we are on a once every other week, and we have a special guest today. We're sitting here with the one and only Mason Ho. Welcome to the show, my man.
Yeah, Jamie, thank you for having me.
No worries. Mason and I have been friends for, I don't know how long. How old are you?
Oh,
how old are you?
We're going there straight off the bat. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm 34 now.
I'm 39.
And then I think we were friends before. We were playing at the motocross track on the bikes.
Yeah. We were probably like, so there's like this motor track called Kahuku Motocross Track.
Yep.
And me and Mason and Coco and Michael Ho, your dad, we would all go up. We would all go up there and camp, and yep. Your dad and all the boys would be riding dirt bikes, and then we'd be like on our GT bikes,
exactly.
like from like Walmart. No, it wasn't Walmart. Yeah.
No, I think it was some cooler bike shop because GTs are so sick.
They're so sick.
Or I wonder if Walmart had them, but no. I remember doing that with you riding. Remember the super muddy day when we were getting all the mud? Like they'd make the big muddy donut tires and we were scraping the mud off. I think, I'm trying to remember the exact age, but I was so small and young that couple spots of the bike, I couldn't, I think I wasn't even smart enough yet to get there or had the strength. And a couple times because you were like a little older than me, and a couple times you're like, your bike was already clean. You're like, kids, bomb this hill. And I'm just sitting there like, whoa, like almost just trying not to cry because I was with you.
Yeah.
And you just be like, let's go. And I'm like, look at my bike. You're like, bro, you don't even got it clean yet. You're like, give me the stick. Boom, boom. And you'd get the spots where I couldn't get. So and then you're like, just to get me ready to go like down the hill, you know? So I just remember like being so stoked with you a couple times. I was like, okay, I know we're going to have fun.
That was fun. Cause like, I remember my dad was like, all right, like you can go hang out with Mason and Michael. And I was like, and he's like, what, but where are you going? I'm like, oh, we're going up to Kahuku Motocross Track, which is like up the road from VLAN. It's one of the best, like, it's probably the only and best motocross track on the island. Yeah. And, your dad and all his friends were camping up there.
Uncle Double D got you up there.
Double D. Yeah. Derek Dorner, Laird Hamilton's right-hand man.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were like up there hanging out with you.
You can almost say vice versa too, huh?
We could almost say vice versa.
It's his right hand man.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but you're right. Yeah, they're both so gnarly. Huh?
So gnarly. So yeah, I mean,
you're always with him. I remember.
So yeah, no, because I remember Derek Dorner was always like, I'm Double D, and then because they would get like Derek Ho and Derek Dorner
sometimes mixed up. Yeah. Because the Derricks.
Yeah. And they're kind of like, he's like, oh, I spell my name different. And like, oh, I'm Double D. D-ho. Like,
yeah. You lay it down, huh?
They'd have to lay it down. Like,
so fun. And I was probably always with Uncle Double D a lot. So like, it was probably like, oh, isn't that the Derricks with the Mason?
You know what? That kind of makes sense. Like how we were friends because I used to always go hang out with Derek Dorner, and then you live 3 houses over.
Yeah.
And Derek Dorner and your dad Michael were like good friends, and like and then that kind of like probably like made the bond. I was like
that much safer.
I was like a little rat on the street, and you're a rat. Same. And we're just barreling out like just
skating. Now we weren't there. We were being professional groms.
Yeah.
You know?
We were professional groms on the North Shore.
Well, actually we were almost barreling out because the only reason, not the only reason, but one of the main reasons I love to go to Uncle Double D's was, well, for one, my mom and dad weren't going to be there probably. So I just get out of the house and I was like, hey, I'm going to run there. And there's less supervision.
Yeah.
But, he just had all these like cool colored helmets and cool colored surfboards and jet skis and stuff. And I'd just want to go in his yard and sit on his jet skis and just put on his helmets and just like look at his colorful boards. And I remember his smallest board a couple times. I was like, bro, how's this small little green board? I love this thing. And then he's always like, yeah, that's my godson. Or he's like, that's my boy's board.
Oh, my board.
Yeah, he's like, that's Jamie's board. And I was just like, Jamie O'Brien. And then yeah, no, he'd be like, yep, that's Jamie O'Brien's board. And I'd be like, oh, that board's the dream right there.
Dude, I used to go into the Derek Dorner's garage and he'd like Buzzy Kerbox, like Laird Hamilton, like he'd have like every surfer's and Jerry Lopez's, and like you'd have every single board you'd ever like dream of.
Mean garage, yeah.
Mean.
Like yours.
There was like 100 boards in there. And I remember when I went in there when I was like 6, I apparently knocked over every single board in the garage, and I wasn't allowed back in the garage.
I think I was in.
You might have.
I think I got.
You might have tripped me, and then I knocked them all over.
I don't wish, but I wish it was that nuts. But no, I swear, I remember not being able to go in there anymore because you knocked.
That was me. I knocked over every single board.
You're so funny.
But like when we go to like Derek's house, and then Derek would be like, "Oh, take the moped," and we're like 7. He's like. And we're like, no way, I can take the moped. He's like, don't tell your dad. And we'd be flying around the North Shore on the moped, like just like living the dream, like we
less supervision.
Yeah, exactly. Less supervision. Like my dad did not know I was riding a moped.
I think I remember that too. That little button, that little red button to turn it off.
Yep, that's the one.
No, that was good times. Yeah. So I don't even know how I must have been, to be honest. I think I was like 5 or 6 years old when we first kind of started hanging out. Cause I remember, I was too young to push the mud off I was like too frail, like too like, you know, when you're a kid, you can't get the mud off.
Yeah.
You're like, got the mud off.
Boost that mud.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd go up to Cougar Track. We'd ride bikes and we'd just like hang out all day and like just ride in the mud puddles and be like dirty little groms. We'd go down to like Val's Reef and like rinse off and like,
yeah.
You know.
And always at the surf contest. I remember anytime there would be like the surf contest going on, like the World Cup. I remember one super fun memory with you at the World Cup at sunset.
Yeah.
You were probably like, you'd have to tell me how old you were, but I just remember I was down on the beach playing around on the beach, and then you just came down. You're like, what's up? What are you doing? And I was just sitting there digging holes. I was trying to dig them as deep as I could. And I was just like, oh, I'm digging holes. And you're like, what? Yo, we should go try catch a wave in between the semis and the finals. And I was like, oh, of course, like Jamie, of course, this is just so heavy. I'm just digging holes right here. Like,
you know, it's funny though. You're digging holes. My dad's like, yo, if there's any time you want to get recognition or get a sponsor, that you surf in between the semis and the finals, because there's like this gap in between. And I couldn't find anybody to go out and surf with. And I saw a Mason digging a hole on the beach. I'm like, dude, let's go surf.
7. I was like 8 or
yeah.
I think I was like
11 or something.
No, I wasn't even near. Because I got into surfing when I was 8.
Yeah.
Or that's when, and I remember I wasn't even near, I still thought I was going to be a detective. I was like in 2nd grade. No, yeah. No, because I remember I was like thought I was digging to China. Like I wanted to get at it. But seriously, I did. I was like, I'll never forget. I don't know how I remember that so good. I was just digging the hole as deep as I could. And you came up, you were like, let's go catch a wave real quick. And then I was like, yeah, literally, I remember started laughing, kind of told you, like, I'm just digging holes. And you're like, and then you had your green board.
Yeah.
You had the green board that I would always look at Double D's house. And I was just like, whoa. I'm like, he's got the board. Cause you also, I remember my first memory of you was like the cover of North Shore News, and you're hitting the backwash at Pupukea or Aukai or somewhere.
No, that's Makaha.
Makaha.
I was like launching a big backwash, like super grom.
How old were you? Like 13?
I think exactly 13 years old.
I could tell.
Yeah. Dude, I actually got a photo of that. We'll try to pull that up and put this on this podcast.
Yeah, because it was sick. It was super cool. You were like, boom, candlesticking. You had your form out all mental. And I just remember I was like, okay, that's one day. That's the goal. Color board, big old
color board, 80s,
red or something.
Yeah, it was like this 80s blue and red looking board,
Shave
Quicksilver. Like I was like back in the day,
Town and Country even or something.
Probably
or Pro Designs,
Pro Shapes.
Yeah,
exactly.
That logo to me, it's so funny when you're a kid. It's just so crazy what you see at certain times of your life will almost shape you to who you are, or what you like, or what you know, because I remember that Pro Designs just because I was so into
Pro Shapes.
Yeah, Pro Shapes. I didn't know much, I knew all my dad's favorite. I had a couple favorite logos, like the Island Classics and Gotcha, a couple my dad and uncle would have, but then the Pro Designs, I'd always try and draw that one, you know, and my dad would always laugh because I'd be drawing all these designs, you know, all over. And then my dad would be like, what's this? What's this pro? What? I'm like, oh, that's the one. And then he'd kind of laugh like, oh yeah, pro. Okay, cool. Yeah. Whatever makes you happy.
You know, it's funny. I used to go down to Aokai Beach Park and I would be so psyched on stickers. And I was like probably like 7, 8, 9 years old. I would like, and all the pros and all these people would go stick all these stickers on the signs. And there was all the best stickers on the signs. And like, I would just go early in the morning and I'd peel all the stickers off the sign. And I was like, I thought I was like scoring all these 6 stickers. I don't even know what I did with the stickers to this day, but like I would like peel them off. And it was like kind of weird. Like, I mean, I kind of like the smell of the sticker peeling off, which is probably not a good thing, you know?
Oh, that's a good thing, I think. I had that too. That's why I had that too, I think.
So like you're peeling these stickers off and you're like just sticking them all around the place. It was just like super weird. I don't even know why I did it. I was just so in love with stickers. Like you were drawing stickers.
No, we're surf just rats or surf raticles.
We were like early surf junkies, like super like, I don't even know, premature like surf freaks.
Just so excited. I think we're really lucky. We were like, we were raised like right in the heart of so much cool surf culture.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like we got really lucky.
That's
I think
true.
we like.
You know, it's funny. So like, so Mason was saying like, oh, I was digging a hole to China and on the beach, and I'm like, and Jamie shows up, and he's like, oh, let's freaking,
I didn't finish that.
Let's surf in between the semifinals.
You laid it down. That's why. You remember what you did?
No, I don't remember what I did.
I do.
What'd I do?
You want to know?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you came up to me, you told me we're out there. I'm like, no, I'm digging holes. Like that's way out of my league. And you I remember you didn't roust me as hard as all the other kids because there was your group or that era or however that group of people you grew up with was all really talented and really like gnarly, you know, like you grew up around some warriors. Yeah, and I remember just being a young little baby wannabe warrior. And then the real ones would come up and just would like sometimes put you in check or put me in check. And especially if they're putting me in check, they obviously didn't fear my dad because
it's true.
They're just like I don't know, there was a big group of gnarly kids that I was really scared of, but they would be nice to me. I'd just be scared of them. It'd be like the big bully that just randomly picks you to be nice to, you know, and you see all the other kids, you're like, oh, my friends are getting picked on, but I'm not. But I knew, okay, this is because my dad and my uncle. Yeah. Thank God. I might just say one more time, I'm going to tell my dad. I think I said it a couple times when I was a kid, but there was like a crew that would be nice to me. And then I just remember there was a crew that was just like, I don't care who your dad is. Like my dad's so-and-so too. Yeah. So we're going to give it to you like the rest of these kids. And then that's where I'd almost learned my lessons here and there. And that was fun.
But what happened in this?
Oh, damn, that was too fun.
Semis and the finals.
So main thing that happened was you were nice to me. I just remember I told you I was digging holes and you were nice to me and you didn't tease me about it. You're like, okay, have fun digging holes. And you just like ran off with your board. And I was like, whoa, he's gnarly. That's one day. And then right there, you just ran into the water, jumped in. Then, Uncle Double D came up, picked you up on the jet ski. I was like, whoa, that looked fun. I didn't know I'd get a ride out maybe. And you got the ride out. Bwomp, you got out. And then they're like, yeah. And the announcer was going, so the finals are coming up, boom, 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 saying all the names. And then they're like, it looks like little Jamie O'Brien's heading out for a wave. And I'm like, whoa, what, shout out? I didn't even have to catch one. I could have went out and got a shout out. And then
you heard it echoing through your hole that you're digging.
Oh yeah, I just heard it and I popped my head out like a little gopher out of that hole. They're like, young Jamie O'Brien's gone. I'm just like, funk, what? Like, shout out. And then and then I just remember sitting there kind of like half still digging my hole, but half like, should I have gone out? And then half like watching to see if you were gonna get one. And then you ended up getting like the nicest wave, just like not the crazy big one that wasn't nice, and foamy, or you just got this perfect little green wave where it almost looked like VLAN or something, but it was sunset. You took off and you got barreled. I think you just got one wave. You took off, you got barreled, and got spit out, poof. And then they announced it. Oh, look, the waves are turning on. Jamie O'Brien just got a barrel.
It's so funny, Mason, is like my dad, like whether it was like Sunset, Haleiwa,
he placed
Pipeline, he's like, because there's always this break in between the contests, like the finals. They bring everybody up on stage for the semifinals. They introduce them to all the people on the beach, and my dad's like, "This is go time. Like all the people are watching. You need to be out there. This is how you're gonna get sponsored." And he was right.
So smart. Your dad was always. I feel like your dad was always placing you in the perfect spots to be exactly where we're at now. Huh?
He definitely did everything he could.
Mastermind. Yeah.
You know, it's funny though. Like I remember, like I was probably like 16, 17. I was like, you know, we were like still really good friends, but like we kind of like grew our different ways.
Yeah. Well, like from Sunset to Pipeline, when you're that young, I remember when I was that young, like I never went as far as like I'd barely creep out of Sunset Beach. Like I remember when I'd get to Rocky Point, I'd just be like, whoa, Rocky Point.
You just stopped at Rockies, yeah.
Yeah, and then I was like, kind of got used to that. And then I just remember Pipeline and stuff. Just during the contest, I'd feel really comfortable. But once there was like no one around, it was like desert town.
Yeah.
You and all the boys, Kalani and all like the real, like the real baby warriors would be running around. I'd just be like a little scared to venture out of my neighborhood.
No, that's super true. Cause like, I mean, I remember when I was like 16, 17, I stopped seeing Mason. Mason was surfing VLAN, Val's Reef. Yeah. And then he was just like,
VLAN, Val's Reef.
He was just getting into like shores and Rocky Point. And like,
I barely got to Rockies, luckily.
Yeah. And it was crazy. Cause like, there was like my generation, which was like, you know, I know Surratt, Roy Parker, Jamie Sterling, Mark Healy, I don't know. There's a list of guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of you guys.
And Marcus Hickman.
Gnarly,
and like Makua, and like we had our group, man.
Yeah, you know, you guys had a solid one.
And there was like no one behind us. There was this it must have been like a 6 or 7 or 8 year gap where there was like no one that surfed pipe.
You guys created fear.
No, but we were fearing, because when I would paddle out to pipe, you know, luckily the uncles were super nice and respectful. Yeah. Like I'd paddle out to pipe and it'd be like Dan Kiloa, Johnny Boy Gomes, like you know, Mike Ho and all the gnarlies, and I was like, oh my god, I'm out here. And like I remember going to school and telling like the my friends at school, like, oh, where'd you surf yesterday? I'm like, oh, I surf pipe. They're like, you surf pipe?
You're like, what?
I'm like, I got spit out. And they're like, no way, you didn't get spit out. I'm like literally like pretty young, and like I literally like took off on the shoulder, dropped it on someone. The wave just spit its guts out on me, and I was like, oh, I got spit out.
I did it.
I dropped it on the wave, didn't get barreled. The spit hit me, and I just kicked out. I was just like claiming. I was like, no way, I got spit out.
Oh, I remember those days, those first. How cool are those first waves at pipe?
So good.
When you're a kid and you just take off and you feel that spit, or that first time you feel spit. I wonder if every single one of us are all the kids that kind of grow up surfing pipeline. I wonder if everyone remembers that first spit, because you're talking about that.
Yeah.
And I remember like my first time I felt the spit out there, and it's just so funny. I bet everyone's kind of remembers, because it's such a cool little violent tingle thing.
No, it just like stings your face, because like there's this thing called backdraft, and it sucks back in, and then like all the spray hits your face as it's sucking back in the barrel. It's like vaporizing, and it's like pulling back, and then it just
it's crazy.
It stings your face, and it burns your back.
Best feeling. Oh,
you know, so like I don't know, like to me, as you know, like growing up at Pipeline and doing my thing, your dad, I remember your dad like making the Pipeline Masters finals, getting a second, the Johnny Boy. He was probably like 38, 40 years old.
He was 42, yeah.
42 years old. I was like, wow, like this is incredible. Like I've been like, you know, like my last final I made at the Pipeline Masters was in 2001. I was 21 years old.
I remember watching that.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah.
And just, you know, your dad, inspiration. I'm like, God.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I shouldn't just stop surfing contests at pipe. Maybe I should just keep going a little bit longer.
Bro. I mean, as much as I'd like to not see your name in my heat draw, I have to tell you, there's no way you can really stop it. I'd say
over it, but like
kind of over it.
Yeah.
I never thought anyone could.
I know.
I better not admit that.
I know, but so basically,
a couple guys out, or what? What is it?
I don't know.
Why are you kind of over it? You just don't feel that, like you almost like you're like.
I feel like when I paddle out there, I have such high expectations, and I want to deliver, and sometimes you don't get the chance to deliver.
Sometimes you run out of time, the clock and Mother Nature. And
I just kind of like feel like I don't want to be like, you know, like burning down my legacy. Like I'm like, just like, I don't want like, like
I don't,
like I remember like,
I understand what you're saying.
like a 13-year-old kid just beating me.
Yeah, no, you're so funny.
Is it Maikai? What is Maikai?
Yeah.
He's a great server.
No, yeah.
And he like beat me. I was like,
really?
And I was like looking at the WSL photo. I'm like, oh.
I'm gonna walk you through this. I'm gonna get you out of this rut, bro. There's no way you could stop because you're just such a. It's like, okay, how about this one? Or when Bruce kind of stepped away a little bit from competing. Remember, he stepped away for a second and then came back. And remember were you kind of bummed? Remember seeing like your favorite pipe guy, even though like he'd get caught, like we all get caught here and there out there, I think he was like, I think he felt that too a little bit maybe or something, or I can't speak for the master himself, but I don't know. I think I could almost understand what you're saying, but I think you're like so one of the greats. You're not just your average really good pipe surfer. You're actually like you're like Picasso, like, or your Picasso level, like it's sick seeing the art that you do out there. So for me, that's what I look at Pipeline as. It's just like the funnest, coolest canvas in the world to do the art. So if you can just give us, I don't care if it's like 5 minutes, you give me 5 minutes, like with 4 people out to kind of get one maybe, or it's kind of cool. It's just, it's like you'll for sure have your canvas for as long as you want to do your painting, as long as they want you. And it's not like every time you go out, you're still performing every time. It's not like you're not performing, usually when you don't, it's just like when the waves are kind of weird. Or like, you can't let it.
You're out of rhythm.
Yeah, don't let that get you down, But I can't speak for you because I feel like you've gotten way more barreled than any like of us, So I can't talk. Like I'm still trying to chase down the barrel time,
So here's my thing. I gotta clear my voice for this one. So like for me, I was probably like 26, 27. Mason just starts showing up to pipe and backdoor. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. You kind of showed up late.
Yeah, nah. Well, like
when did you start serving? How old were you? Or like when were you like?
Cool
when were you there? Like you started showing up kind of every other swell.
Whoa, well that was a little later.
You're late.
For me, totally.
You were. I ain't gonna lie. You had no picture. Like you had for sure. Like you show up, blow up. But like
Mason, no, you're right.
Mason wasn't Pipeline. Mason was Val's Reef, Rocky Point, and VLAN. Dude, and this guy showed up at Pipe, and I was like, well, that was pretty good. And I kept coming back. I was like,
well, at first I was looking. Sometimes my little windows were when sometimes you wouldn't be in town, because you're still chasing the QS. When I was really young, well, not like just. I feel like my biggest performances, I remember when I was young at Pipe, were like these weird spring times, like something about the winter time when I was younger, I just see all my favorite surfers around, and I was never the Grom. That was like
going out between the semis and the finals, trying to get some recognition.
Well, that was the dream. I was dreaming of that, but no, I was never the Grom to be like, I'm going to go battle, or I'm going to go, not even battle, but I'm going to go surf with my heroes, or I'm going to go like, and I might get in their way. Or I just remember something about the winter time. It would just make me want to go run and hide.
Yeah.
Not run and hide, but just go to these little places that made me feel comfortable as a Grom. And luckily my dad was really nice. And he just knew, I think he knew just how crazy the ocean was. And he was a little scared for me a bit, because every time he'd kind of Pipeline would be mentioned or whatever, he'd just see me kind of get a little scared, and he'd be like, oh, I think VLAN would be fun, the West Swell.
Oh yeah.
And then I'd be like, oh, okay, Dad said, and like if I just follow Dad's lead, I'm gonna make it pro. But I don't know. So something about, I feel like all my life, or a lot of my young childhood, I'd be running from it, and then randomly, like I would know, okay, as a pro surfer, I don't want to be one of those guys who don't surf pipe. I was like, that's the last thing I really want, even though my heart's feeling that, like, because I grew up watching guys get slaughtered there my whole life. So I was like, my heart was naturally like, no, but then eventually I'd get like my one springtime big backdoor barrel, I'd get like a big one, or then my big left pipe, big dog spit out, like get the pipe feel, and then all of a sudden winter, like I'd be like, I'm ready for it. And then summer would come and I'd be like, okay, next year. And then winter would come and I'd be like, ee. And then, but eventually I remember a lot of you guys got me excited to go out there, because everyone would not make fun of me, but it kind of came a thing where once I got older, you know, like about 16 years old, I remember 16, 17, even 15, like you guys would be like, Mason, I'd kind of come to check if backdoor was going to be fun, you know, and it'd kind of be getting bigger or something. And I'd be like, oh, I'm getting out of here. It's getting big. And then I'd see you or something. You'd be like, Mace, you paddling out with us this time? Are you paddling out? And I'd be like, nah, my leash is small or something, you know, and you'd kind of be like, okay. And then some of the boys would be like, I just remember anyone who'd call me out on it, they'd be like, don't wuss out today, you know, and it'd be like some hero that I was like, oh no, hero called me. You know, but then I just remember I'd be like, my Uncle Derek had this line for me one time. He's like, oh, they're going to be bummed when you get into pipeline. All those guys. Because sometimes I'd be with Uncle Derek and I'd kind of vent to him or just, you know, like Grom vent. And Uncle Derek just like kind of got good ones that day out here and stuff, like on the road. And I'd just be like, well, one day, Uncle, like, I just can't, I want to get there. Yeah. And he'd just be like,
hold on. So, hey, sit down, dogs. Sit. Just hit the middle button on their collar. Lay down. Sorry.
No.
Lay down.
Yeah.
We got the dogs behind the scenes. Billy got them all hyped up.
Sorry, guys. No.
Yeah. So Uncle Derek was, he was always like, he's telling you about all these pipe experiences, and you're just like,
he changed my life. Like, I was always afraid of pipeline my whole life growing up, and then a mix of like all you guys kind of asking me every time I'd kind of sneak away, hey, where are you going? Pipe's good. And some of the boys would be like, don't wuss out, you know? And I just remember Uncle Derek this one time told me like, hey, just think they're going to be bummed out when you get into surfing pipeline. Cause just think that, you know, he's like, those guys are going to be bummed when you get into it. Cause it's not going to be nice, you know, or whatever. That's what he said. That's what he said. And I just remember thinking like, yeah, because I was kind of bummed and kind of mad and kind of sad. Or, you know, that weird feeling, that bummer feeling, you know, like I wasn't breaking through. And I know that was like the kink in when I was a kid, I always wanted to be like a world champion, you know, or I always thought that's a nice blueprint for a kid growing up.
For sure. It's the dream.
Yeah, just because you'll end up somewhere nice, you know, like there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. But when Uncle said that, I was like, okay. I just remember one time I showed up to pipe. The wrong guy, someone told me, what, you're not going out? And I was like, brah, you're going to be so bummed when I get into it. Watch, brah. And he was just like, whoa, what? And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to got my board right here. I'm out there. But Uncle Derek told me, like, and I grabbed my board and kind of got all excited, like hyped myself up a little bit and paddled out.
Got a mental one.
Yeah. And it was actually, I don't know if it was like good or bad, or I just remember I paddled straight. Like, I was like, I got out there and I waited on the shoulder, and I think one little set came. And like everyone went, like 30 people tried to go, and I was the last guy in line. I was like, whoa, I could go on this. And I turned around and I was the last guy on the shoulder. You know, I paddled, I seen everyone. Oh. I pulled back. I was like, wow, there's no way you're going to get one on the channel. And I was so excited and feeling it. I was like, I ain't waiting here a second. I got to get into the zone, you know? So I paddled all the way to the back. And I just remember Masatoshi was at the Wakita Bowl. Yeah. I just remember I was like, oh, I know Masatoshi. Like, I'm going to go kick back by him. I went by him and talked for like 5 minutes, and then a bomb came, and he was like super nice. He was like, you want to go? And I was like, well, what? Yeah, of course. And then I tried, I think I went for it, and everyone was like, whoa, what, Mason? Like, maybe, I think everyone kind of let me go. Mason, yeah, kind of Mason's going cool, and kind of like pulled back, you know, and I just airdropped from the top and just went to the bottom and just like, whoa. I was
pounded.
Oh yeah, I just did the like spin out at the bottom and but got into the barrel, like pulled in. But you know, when you like airdrop, you land and you kind of spin, you catch, but you get pounded.
Lose all your speed.
Yeah, and then I just remember after that, I was like, I came up and it was nothing, and I was just like, whoa, this is not that bad. Yeah. And then it was all you guys out there, so it was like super fun and easy to just hang out, you know, and wait for one. I kind of learned how a little bit after to take my turn. And
well, I feel like sometimes like. And like some of your worst wipeouts at pipe won't be your worst wipeouts. It's always the one that you didn't think was going to be your worst wipeout is the worst one. Cause like I've fallen at pipeline in the worst way. I'm going to die right now. And I pop up right at the back. I'm like, untouched. Yeah. Then I fall on a 5-footer and I get slammed on the reef, hit my head, bounce reef, break my board in 3 pieces. And I'm just like, like kind of humbled.
Yeah, that wave has got a mind of its own, or like what they all say, huh? It's just like, it's so mystical. Something about that wave is just, like you said, there's been a few where I thought I was maybe gonna die or get really, really hurt. and then you're like paddling back out, like, woo, I get to try again. Yeah, I'm gonna make it this time.
Adrenaline's going. You're like, back out there.
Yeah, you're like psyching kind of, or a little shooken, or you have those ones like you said, like my last wipeout at Pipe was just like a 3 or 4 footer, and it was all kind of sandbar and
your wave
mellow. Yeah, it was like a solid 5 footer, you know, but like 10-foot face. But I jumped from the top with like an injury that was lingering. And the way I fell just freaking took me out for 5 weeks.
There you go. Doesn't matter how big it is. Like if you guys are listening to this, like sometimes the small ones, there's more room for error. You take a lot. I don't know. It just
you probably
crunches you.
Yeah,
but
and it comes in on those spikes.
Yeah,
you know.
And like so like I know we keep diving into these things super deep and like
so
much
I'm
we
gonna
need
keep
to
it topical.
Topical. No, but like
watch this. You're gonna be proud of me on my next question, Jamie.
No, but like so I remember like going into this pipe thing, you showed up out of nowhere, but not like you came out of nowhere. And I was like, oh my God, like Mason is now one of, in my mind, the best pipeline and backdoor surfers out there. And I'm like, wow. And I'm like so confused because like you did it so fast. Like you did it in 2 winters. Like you were like, you were like doing magical stuff at backdoor. You're just like, you adopted perfect at pipeline. And I was just like, wow. Like it was humbling for me because like I put in so much time, but you were doing all this other stuff. And when you were ready, you showed up at Pipeline and you did it. Like I showed up at Pipeline just because like I was told to go out there every day. Your uncle and Mike, and they knew when it was the right time for Mason to show up. And when you showed up in fashion, and I was like, how's this guy this good? Like he's so good. I'm like, I was kind of like bummed because I thought I was good, and I spent so much time out there. I'm like, this guy like didn't even surf here. But then it was like kind of a thing where I'm like, dude, it's like surfing is in his family's blood. World champions.
That's probably really what it was,
dude. Like, but I mean,
that don't sound bad.
Well, we got to give everything to the people that brought us here. But like, dude, you adapted so well, and like. I was rooting for you to, win the Pipe Masters. Like any contest you're in, I'm like the same. I'm like, man, Mason's in my heat. That's gonna be a hard one.
Yeah, that's cool. That's not cool.
I don't want you in one of my heats.
No, that's a bummer. Yeah, how heavy is that?
And you don't want me in your heat.
No way. Yeah, over that. You freaking big old freaking huge arms and huge legs, freaking slimy, just flying through the water.
I slimed around Mason a few times.
Super slime, bro. You and me though. I try to put up my slime level too with you. Like I love just sliming through the water. I love competing that's why I just love. I've always been stuck in this weird place of like the free surfing and competing. Like I just know there's a way you can turn them both into one. And I feel like everyone, like John does it. Actually everyone does it nowadays. Even you've always done it too. I think I'm on to something, but I don't know. There's something about you can like really freaking turn that 20 minutes into so much fun if you get super into it and you kind of just cut off all the strings, like
all the friendship, like everything's out the window.
Yeah, just kind of be like, okay, if I'm going in, I'm going like all in. But also like before, I ain't gonna be like before and after. I ain't gonna be weird, or that's for sure, or maybe you learn over time.
So speaking of that, we were in like the quarterfinals, the Vulcan Pipe Pro, and like there was this wave coming, and like no one had priority, and like there was 3 people paddling for it, and then it was me and you, and then you like kind of turn, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna paddle around them, and then I got here, and then you were like, oh yeah, I think you want to go a little more, and you went a little bit more, and then you turn and you started going on, and I was like, yeah, I'll let him have it, yeah, right, and I like took off behind Mason, and Mason pulled off, and I got like an 8.5, and I was like paddling back out. I started feeling bad. Like in the moment, I was like, yeah, I got you, Mason, bro. I'm gonna outfox the foxes. And I'm like paddling back. I'm like, oh man, Mason's gonna be bummed at me, dude. This sucks. Like I don't want like any confrontation with any of my friends, but like somehow I got caught in that moment. Yeah. And then you looked at me and you're like, that was good, bro.
Yeah. No, I was like, you got me. And then you started laughing, and I started laughing.
That was nuts.
That was one of my favorite. That actually, I think, still is one of my favorite little battles I've had out there. Like, because Pipeline, you kind of have the best battles ever out there, just because it's such it's like high risk you know,
high reward.
Yeah. And high reward. Yeah. So the feeling gets high reward, you know? So like when you're like dog fighting a guy before the actual kind of a dog fight with nature, just like putting yourself in the spot and maybe going like fighting or just working with the wave, you know, or actually now that I think about it, it's almost like a switch. Like how do you go from a super dog fight to just like, cause I don't like to fight Mother Nature. You know, when I said that, I kind of felt really bad, but I like to like go with it. So it's almost like a weird thing to do at pipe, to fight for this piece of Mother Nature, you know? And then when you're taking off, just switch to like Picasso mode, or like what I was telling you, that art mode, you know, where
zenning out.
Cause it's like, when it's a little wave, I feel like it's easy to just be like, oh, I need to get this, cause there's not many. And like, I don't even care if I roll over it. I'm gonna not hurt myself. Like, and I'm gonna battle you for it. And I don't care about what happens, you know? But at pipe, you're like that wave with you and me. I remember we were battling. There was 4 of us at first, and then it came to 3 of us, and then just you and me wanted to, because we were putting ourselves in the pit, kind of in a dangerous place.
Very dangerous.
And then I kind of had you just because I had a bigger board or something. I think I was paddling a little, just barely. I had a head start on you, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to use my head start. This is as far as we could go. I'm going. And I turned, and then you like stopped for a second. I watched you like analyze where we were, and you were like, I think you were like, no, I could go a little more. He cut too early. So I turned, and you just went woof around. And I was just like, it almost gave me the butterflies. I'm like, oh, he went there. Or you know what I mean? Or just like, not like a little wave, you know? And we were kind of in a little like, not dog fight, but like a little surf fight thing.
It was a battle.
Yeah, it was a little fun little surf thing. And then I just remember you were there, and I like looked one more time, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you know what? I'm willing to die to try beat Jamie. So I'm going to go one deeper, and I'm never deeper. And you're usually the deepest, you know? So I was like, oh, I'm going to get him. So I went one more, and I thought that was kind of almost cool of us, you know? Cause I was like, yeah, I might get him. And then I knew, I'm like, okay, there's no way you can go deeper than this. I'm pulling it. And then you looked at me, and you're like, I swear you're almost like, oh, he got me. And it made it almost more dangerous because you like let me think you got me. And then you went one more over deeper. And I was like, oh, I don't even care. He's going to eat shit. Like, let's start it like this. And then boom, I pulled back almost smiling. Like, I'm like, this fucker. And then boom, he took off. And then I think once you took off, I was like, I know he didn't fall either because he's just a weirdo out here. And then,
I was like, I remember just dragging, and I was like, yeah, I got him.
Got him, yeah. Before the nice ride happened.
It was like the first wave of the heat, and it was such a good wave.
I think it was right when the heat started, too. It was like probably the best feeling ever for you.
You were on a 7.6. I was on a 6.6. Yeah. We were just like, we were in this like shit fight, dog fight thing. And I was like kind of bummed because like the last thing I want to do is like bum one of our friends out there. Like,
worst.
I'm like, I don't want confrontation.
Bum the friends out, yeah.
But you do push the limits, and Pipeline is a wave that like you could really like push the issue.
You could bum your friends out, all
the time. Like, you bummed me out a couple times.
I'm sorry.
Besides that,
I know. Good thing you.
But that was in a heat. So
that was in heat. So we all know it's all good. Yeah, we're all willing to die when you sign the waiver. Willing to die, compete, fun.
But sometimes Mason Mason doesn't see me out there. I'm like, no. He's just like, Mason going. And then next thing you know, I'm in the barrel with you, and you're like looking back at me in the barrel, like, yeah, Jamie.
Still the best times, yeah.
Exactly.
Even though, but yeah, something about pipe, huh? Even me too. Like, are there something about I think sometimes my tunnel or my little sometimes something about at pipe, my vision goes like
narrow.
Yeah, and more narrow. Like I like to really focus on what I'm doing. And what I try to do at first thing, I kind of like try to make sure I'm taking turns and watching everyone's like the rhythm. Cause I try not to like cut in, you know, or anything. But then I also try.
Yeah, remember this one?
Yeah, that was the best right there.
You're throwing a shocka back at me. But I mean, that to me, that was such a great moment sharing a barrel with you. Right. And like, at first I was like, ooh.
You know what happens?
Look, nothing but love.
I think you end up ruling the lineups so hard that I was just sitting there for a while that day. I was like, this guy's not pissed, but I was like, Jamie's gonna get in another barrel. I've been waiting here, and I'm all finally this wave's coming to me. I'm all only he would be in that spot on that board's gonna get him in. But you had your piece. Like you didn't know what I was going through.
Exactly.
You just went to your spot. Hey, this is where my board's gonna go good, and I don't have to look or see anyone's faces. Like I love all you brothers, but this is what I'm assuming you're going through in your head. This is why I was like, hey, I love you. It's all good, you know. But
I think you're like looking at me in the barrel, I love you.
Yeah,
and I was like,
I was all
they're like talking to me, looking backwards in the barrel, like throwing a shaka, like making eye contact with me. And I was like, who does this?
No, it's sick. We do. We've done it a few times. We've had some good times in the barrel together. We had rights together, lefts.
And I feel like, dude, honestly, like at the end of the day, if you end up burning me, I'm rather it's you than anybody else. Cause I know I know what you're doing and I know what I'm doing. And I know like, even if it's an accident, we're going to accommodate each other to make little adjustments to make the craziest waves ever.
Yeah. Yeah. Like pipe is like, it's special like that. Like you don't want to be cutting anyone off, you know, but it ends up happening a lot. And I've like done it to a lot of people. Like I've done it to my uncle, like I've done it to everyone. It happens. And for me, it's just like, I like to like focus on right when I'm taking off. And I try to do my homework before I take off. Like I try to look at everyone, and if anyone is kind of going, I usually won't go, or I'll kind of just look with them. And sometimes they'll be like, oh, go, you've been waiting, you know, or whatever. But there comes a point where once I kind of get like a okay from a few people and a few of the right people tell me to go, I usually just turn around and just focus on going. But there is sometimes those times where you accidentally burn someone that you like really like genuinely love, like my uncle I've done, and to you that time, and to other friends, you know, and sometimes it really does happen, and it is genuine mistakes, you know, and but that was cool because that time you had your GoPro all set up, and I took off and we had that nice moment, and then when after it, you know, you're like, bro, what happened? You're like, well, we killed it. We got the meanest clip ever. What do you mean? Love you, bro. And you're like, oh, no. You're like, whoa, yeah. Or you're like, I know. Whoa, yeah. Or I remember it was instantly like, oh, yeah. It was like such a good time, you know.
I love it.
But that's how it should be, you know.
For sure.
Like, or I mean, not people going together, but if it happens, that's how it should be, all sweet and good. And
well, when talent on talent is in the barrel, you feel a lot safer.
Yeah. Like it's all good, huh? But I have seen some dangerous moments with like cutting people off at pipe. It's not a good thing.
You see the one Mikey Bruno dropped in on me, but I paddled around him.
I see. I swear, you go to your spot and you don't know. I don't ever blame you, you know, because I know that feeling. You know, you go to your spot, you don't have to look at anyone, and if the wave's letting you in, you're gonna go in. Like, I'm sorry, I don't know what Mason and Mikey at that time, or this guy or that guy. I don't know how long they've been. I don't know everyone's story, but I'm in the spot and I'm gonna test it. I've been living here, surfing here my whole life.
I tested it, and then Mikey.
We all test you too, but you're one of the most tested, and you're one of the most testing.
Yeah, it's so fun. It was all good. We both escaped. I thought we were both gonna die.
You did, right? That was gnarly, right?
Popped up, and I actually got slammed on the reef.
You did,
but it wasn't too bad. I was in a helmet and a little float suit. Kind of bounced me perfect.
Yeah, that's perfect.
I gotta take a pee break. I'm dying.
Yeah.
So Mikey Bruno and I. Well, I mean, he had every right in the world to drop in on me because I just paddled out my soft top. This is my first wave, and I was like, I'm going. I was like,
I thought you were in the front.
And then Mikey kind of took off, and then his board went inside of my leash, and then he realized he was dropping in, and we were both way too deep.
That is nuts.
Dude, look at Mikey though. Like, my leash wrapped around him.
Oh no.
Dude, but I at this moment I was thinking like, oh my God, like Mikey's gonna try and snap on me, but like I was deeper than him, but I didn't wait my turn, and I was just like, dude, I'm glad you're all right, dude. And he was like, we kind of like mutually like understood each other, and then I was just like,
that's how it should be.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm back out there, and this rolled into a bunch of other waves, you know. So
the rules of pipeline right there.
But like at pipe on the 9.0, why I'm attracted to the soft top board. The thing is 97 liters. Dude, the thing is a boat. Dude, it's like this thick, like this couch. And it just floats like you've never imagined. It's like a sub squatch. Like
the addiction.
It's like,
yeah, right.
I can catch any wave I want. And I could be like 30 feet further than anybody out there at a pipe. And then even like Co was like, Jamie, I always try and get in a paddle battle with you on your 9.0, and you suck me out the back, and then I end up missing the wave and you catch it.
That's funny how out there it works like that.
Yeah. Okay. So I know we've been talking about pipeline, how we grew up and everything, but I guess for me, like, I remember a few years back, I was like, yo, Mason, you got to start a YouTube channel. And you're like, whoa, what do you mean? And you're like, kind of like talking to me. And I'm like, dude, just start a YouTube channel. You're like, so how does it work? And we're like talking about
that
it.
was
Yeah.
sick.
And I told you to start one. I told Nate to start one. I told Ko to start one.
Pretty much everybody, right?
I did.
Or whoever
know?
you could.
Yeah. And like, obviously Ben was doing his thing before and I was doing my thing with Red Bull before, but I finally understood the value that YouTube brought. And I was like, and there was like people that I wanted to have, like, I'm like, dude, I would love to see.
That's how I am now.
I would love to see Mason on YouTube and Koa and Nathan and all the boys. Like,
I understand.
And so I created a monster. And my one thing, your YouTube channel is so sick. I love what you do and how you talk to your boards and you rub them and you like you feel the rails at the end of the segment. But like my one thing, I'm like, I just want to hear Mason talk. And like, that's why I was like,
no, that's what I try to avoid. Dude, for some reason, if I watch an edit and as soon as I hear myself talking, I'm just like, cut that part out. We got to cut that right where I start talking. Just cut that part out. But it's funny because I swear I get that from me or like, it's just my voice, my tone or something like, I don't know if I did something when I was younger or something, but
scared
like
yourself.
Yeah, I did something because like I could handle like everyone talk, and then I almost catch myself too, like almost like you, like I want to know more, like I almost want to know behind this session, you know, like you how you do it. It's just that's why I think I voted you as the best YouTube.
Thanks.
Yeah. But no, like that would be like. Ideally, that would be how I'd want my deal, you know, like, but something about like, I'm like right there with my friend Rory. We're always like making it all. And like, I'll always start the day. Cause you know how there's these magical days. I always thought the cool thing about the vlog thing or the vlog or the cool thing I always thought was how you can almost capture how special that day was. Like, you know, for us, it's like we have these super special days where we surf these sessions and meet these cool people and just have these crazy fun times, you know. And I noticed how you do it. You really capture it. Like maybe if the wave's not caught at this one angle, you got a couple angles ready, a couple other ones, and you kind of tell the whole, you explain to like, say if it was me as a kid or someone watching, or even if I moved somewhere and couldn't surf anymore, but I lived on the North Shore and would kind of do what you did, you know, like, I feel like there's a lot of people who love kind of the story, you know, like just telling the story of it, you know. And I always start my days like, okay, we're going to just film everything. Like I'll tell Rory, and Rory knows, I mean, he's always having it, but I'm like, get ready, film everything. It's a good time. Like,
and then you just start talking to your surfboard and rubbing it and talking to it and waxing it.
I should talk more to that thing, but no, yeah. But what's so funny, like, you know, when the project starts, we got the whole story, boom, boom. Like it's like 2 minutes, 3 minutes before the surfing.
Look at this. So you're like looking at your board.
Oh, I should
like,
just stroke that thing more nowadays.
You touch it.
There we go.
You're rubbing it. You touch the stickers, the fins.
Right there. That's just checking for pressure dings. Like, hey guys, look, ding report. There's no dings. It kind of started like,
I surf shallow reef. Look, ding report.
Yeah. You know how, well, I'd always surf. The ding report started like.
So this is a ding report? I didn't even know it was a ding report.
Damn it, bro. You got it.
You should start your own.
I thought you're a fan, bro. It's a fucking ding report. It's famous nowadays. I'm just kidding.
You should start your own ding repair thing on the North Shore.
Oh, I think I've had a. Yeah, no, you're right. Because it's almost ding repair.
Yeah, Mason Ho
ding report of
ding
the
report.
Repair.
Yeah.
Oh, the oil tycoon. You're letting me in on my. I'm gonna use
the oil tycoon.
You're the tycoon. I'm gonna You should just pay guys a fee to like I won't ask you to manage me just yet, but like some sort of game plan, you know, like I'll
look at your phone. That thing is
Dude, look at Burger.
Ding report.
This is the best ding report. Bro, I've gotten lazy in my days, bro. Nowadays, so I get bummed out now. Like now I'm watching this a little bit, but I was kind of bummed because all our videos start with the whole. It all starts with like the nice, kind of funny, cool little story before the session.
Yeah.
And then after some funny stuff going home, and then like a ding report. That's how my edits usually start. But then every time I watch him, like once, it's like, oh, this is kind of cool, you know. And then I'll come back and I'll watch it again and just be like, right when my voice starts, I was like, okay, cut it right there, boom, and then because at least you almost get the behind the story, you know. It's like the board's coming out, and then boom. But I don't know. And then by the end, when the edit's like, when I think it's good, I'm like, hey, Rory, I like it now. He's like, Pat, you just cut all the story, all you just cut the whole thing. You only left one little, like a little line, one line. But I don't know. So I don't know. I think I should almost step away from maybe. Now that I'm thinking about it, I should almost like maybe not edit them so much.
You're like surf porn, dude. You're just like, you just want, everyone wants to watch you surf, obviously. But then like, I think to me as a fan, I just want to hear you talk.
I know. I feel like that with other guys too.
That's why I'm like, oh my God, we got Mason on the show. Like, we're just going to talk. And like, literally, I wrote down 20 questions and we literally answered maybe 4 of them. Like, I feel bad for everyone that's.
Nail it. We got this for you. Get some extra shit, bro.
I feel like everyone that's like watching this is like, they want to hear more of Mason Ho talking. That's why I was like, oh, like, I remember like writing down like, you know, 5 or 6 people, like, these are the people I want to do the podcast with. I'm like, and one of them's Mason.
Thanks, Jamie. No, I was super, when you asked me, I was like, I wanted to make sure I told you thank you for having me on here, because it's like an honor, you know. It's cool that you picked me out of all people out there, you know. So
no,
I was super stoked. But yeah, I think I become like my own
worst enemy.
I become like my own, or when I'm like watching it and stuff, or even doing the deal, I become like my own harsh, like most harshest, I don't know if that's a word, but I become like my worst critic, or like I just become a harsh critic on myself. Yeah. You know, so like once I hear myself talking, there's nothing, I don't think there's anything cool I could possibly say. Like,
okay. So I got something cool that I don't know if you want to share this story, but it was one of the funnier things you told me. Because like, so I think it was 2016, Eddie Aikau, they're like, oh, we're going to run the contest. It's going to be freaking huge. And I was like, how big? And they're like, it's going to be like 35 feet, probably closing out the bay, but we're running the contest no matter what. And we had this like big, like safety meeting at dark, the morning the contest run. There, we're running no matter what.
I already like this story.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh my God, like frick, I was hoping they were gonna call the Eddie off. I'm like in the morning, I'm like freaking trying to wake up. That's a good Eddie
right there.
Yeah, and I'm like, and they're like, water patrol, be ready. You're gonna be assisting guys out in and out through the lineup to make sure that like it doesn't matter how big it is. Like, and also kind of thinking, all right, well, like I have this like 10-4. I have the biggest board. It was made for Jaws, but I had one in Oahu, like ready. Just in case, like if there's ever one day I'm gonna ride this board. So it's like, boom. Next thing you know, Eddie is on. I was just like, dude, I felt like,
love this.
I felt like an ant going to sleep. I felt like an ant crawling out of the hole in the morning to see if the Eddie was going to be on. Then the Eddie was on, and everyone's looking at me like I was a giant, like walking down the beach, like, oh, Jamie, yeah,
psyching,
charge it. And I was just so scared. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. Like, but like, I know my instinct. I'm like, oh my God, this is gonna go out there and get the biggest wave I possibly can. Like, but I'm so scared. I'm like, what am I doing? And I remember paddling off the beach and like doing the whole thing. I got some great, incredible rides.
Super good.
Yeah, thank you. And I was like, I felt very like mentally accomplished.
Psyched.
I was like so excited. I was like, I did it. I did it, and I didn't die.
I love
and then
that's
like
my favorite.
And then I asked, and I was like, I don't know, I remember watching a couple of your rides, and I was like, we like ended up just talking. I forgot where we were talking about this, and you're like, dude, like Jamie, like. I was like, dude, tell me about this wave. I was like talking to you about all these waves you caught.
Chopping. Yeah.
And you're like, dude, I had a hernia and I was in my dad's van at Waimea in between heats. Can you please explain this to me? Because like I was just like, what do you mean? Like
only for you, bro.
Yeah. Can we talk about that?
What do you? Well, yeah.
So you how did you get a hernia before the Eddie Aikau?
Well, I got a hernia before the Eddie Aikau.
Did you get a hernia?
Yeah, it was for sure. It was the year before this last one. It was big and mental too.
Were you just shitting yourself the night before, just trying to push him out?
Dude, that's why I thought it'd be. I was literally like, I'm not gonna tell anyone I have this, because I was like literally cracking myself up. They'll think I'm shitting my pants.
Were you in pain? You were dying.
Oh, bro. You don't even or like pain now. I laugh at pain. Like,
so the night before the biggest Eddie Aikau.
No, it was 6 days before.
6 days.
Eddie. Like,
so you already knew that Eddie was coming
Bro, it was the most critical time of my life still till this day. And I felt, yeah. But I mean, I'll try to make this long story short. If you want the full pretty much, I think 6 days before the contest, I noticed something was wrong with my asshole. and then, yeah, it was just like, okay, something's wrong with my ass. Fuck, I could handle this. Not the first time, so I'm gonna heal this thing, or I'm gonna heal it. You know, it just seems a little more nuts than the last time. And then I just remember, I think like a day or two went by. I was just laying on my belly, just freaking watching. I think right when I get hurt, I usually put on either cowboy movies or Viking movies or James Bond, just to like, 'cause like helps my mind, helps me heal, kind of. I think.
Yeah.
So I was just like laying on my belly, beep, 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 watching some movies, getting psyched, and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, 100-foot swell coming." And I was like, "Oh, minor." I was like kind of like laughing, like, "Ha ha, I got a hemorrhoid. I ain't surfing the 100-foot swell." But then the next day it got formed up a little more, and they're like, "Oh, Eddie's on." And I was like, "What? No, no." And then so there was like about 3 days where I knew that Eddie was probably going to be on.
So 3 days before the Eddie, you're just laying on your stomach watching
on my
James
belly.
Bond.
Yeah. And Vikings. I think that one was
videos.
Vikings. I was like, okay, if these Vikings, because I was literally thinking, oh no, it switched over to Cowboys, because I was thinking, wow, these Cowboys are on their horses all the time. They probably got hemorrhoids. Or I was like, how do these guys? I was thinking of all the legends, like the nuts, like Jesse James or whatever. I was like, how do these guys go get into a gunfight, like a make history, have a gunfight that survives 100 years of storytelling, and they're literally probably have a hemorrhoid too, and they're jumping on their horse and riding their horse to Kansas from Texas. Or like, I was just thinking like, okay, if they could do this, I could get in my dad's truck, or my dad will drive me or something, and I could just show up to that comp, jump on my horse, my board.
3 miles down the road.
Yeah, I was like, I know I could do this. So it was kind of getting me psyched. But the only thing that was creeping me out was I never heard of a swell that big when it was coming. I never heard of a swell that big. And then I don't really have like really big boards like that just ready. I just kind of have a few special ones that me and my dad kind of trade off on, because when it's really big, I like to kind of cherry pick my days. Like I like the sun out, you know. I'm not like one of those diehard big wave chargers that go chase the biggest spot that day, you know. Sometimes I'll go to the nice little reform or somewhere, you know, but usually if it's a nice sunny day, I want to be on the biggest wave that day if the sun's out. That's usually how it works for me. But no, yeah, anyway, let's stay topical. So yeah, I had that hemorrhoid 3 days, I was just laying on my belly for 6 days, and it dawned on me. I'm like, okay, the Eddie's on. They're telling me tomorrow, like you said, they're like, tomorrow it's on 100%.
How'd you get a hemorrhoid?
I think I got a hemorrhoid from just surfing so much.
Just sitting on your board like a cowboy? Just
sitting on the board like a cowboy. And then coming home and watching my clips, probably sitting on the stool, sitting on a little chair, watching I don't even ever lay down, just all night, surf all day, watch the clips all night. Before you know, it's like 3 a.m. I'm like, oh, bro, got to get up at 5 or 6. Waves are firing tomorrow again, or today. So
morning of the Eddie.
Yeah. No, so that is actually a pretty funny, cool, or no, I don't know. But yeah, so I think I got a hemorrhoid from just like having too much fun from just surfing and like watching clips. And I think I was driving around the island, you know, and just like not getting ready for the Eddie, you know, but I didn't know I was on it. So I got the hemorrhoid, and then I was laid out for all those days. And then it came down to the day before that you're talking about, when they were like, okay, we're for sure having it 100%. Cause I was thinking like you, maybe they might call it off, and it'll save me this whole hemorrhoid experience. But, they didn't call it off, and I ended up, my dad was telling me what boards I'm going to ride. He's like, bro, I got this Rawson, this Pat Rawson's freaking, and I think it was made like 1998 or something. And he's like, it's the biggest one we got, bro. This swell's huge. And I was like, or he's like going through this funny thing. He's like, it's going to be minor. Bro, it's nothing. We used to do it with nothing. You guys got jet skis and all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, you're right. You know, I know that. You're right. Yeah, you guys I know. And so like, I was like, I could do this with this injury I have. Like, this is going to be mellow, you know? And then all of a sudden he'd walk back into my room like 5 minutes later and be like, bro, biggest swell I ever seen, I ever heard. I seen so-and-so. Like, he's just in and out. Like, I'm like, Dad, okay. And then he'd come in, you're using the 9.8. I got this 9.8 that I used. I'm like, okay, sounds good. Like, watch out, that's the best part of this movie. Hold on, watch out. Like
They're almost at Kansas.
Yeah, they're almost in Kansas. Exactly. And then eventually he just came in. He's like, hey, I got you the biggest board. We like both never used it before because the big board was so big.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, you're using it. Da 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 da. And I'm like, okay, sounds good. I'll use it, Dad. And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go test it right now at sunset for you, so you know. And I'm like, okay, yeah, Dad, thanks. and then yeah, he's the hero, Dad. And then he goes and tests it, and he comes home. He walks back in before you know, oh, meanest board I ever rode in my life. You're gonna get the best of your life. And I'm like, okay. And I was finally like, he like caught me at a good time too. I think the episode I'm like, oh, I better get up and walk and see if I can. Started walking, couldn't really walk. I was like, dang it, like just felt something down there bad. And then eventually I went and looked at the board. I'm like, no, Dad, this thing's not gonna handle it. It had one little leash plug that was so small, that was so old, it had cracks all in the hot coat, or whatever. And it was
looks like it's just gonna pop out.
No, it literally, I could have pulled it out, but I didn't even want to because I was gonna pull it out. But I'm like, Dad, we need more leash plugs in here. And he's like, no, we don't. That's minor. I just fell on a couple. It held. Da, da, da. I'm like, yeah, but you're telling me 100-foot swell, the biggest ever. Da, da, da. He's like, yeah, it's going to be minor. I talked to a couple more people. It's going to be small. He like went back to small. I'm like, Dad, I don't care. Please, can we get some leash plugs? So he's like, okay, I'll get some. So he went. This was the day before. He like went to his friend's house. And I like went back up, laid down, watched the movies. And he came back. He's like, unreal. You're going to lose it on this board. Da, 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 da. And he like came back. I came downstairs. And he ended up putting like all these leash plugs all over the place, and all the strings were like tied all crazy. And I was like, okay, I'll work with that. That's cool, whatever. He's like, and look what I did to the bottom. And he turned the board over. And before, the board was like this, like the old Ronnie Burns fin setup, like the big single fin with like the small
side fins. Yeah.
And then he like showed me his setup. Yeah. And I guess he just like hacked, or I shouldn't say hacked. He just made, him and his friend redid the fin, all how they liked it, but like chopped it down and then put like bigger, just random old FCS 1 fins. But he ended up making this crazy fin setup, and I was just like, oh my God, like, I'm like, what? This is what it's gonna be tomorrow. And
You've never rode this board in your life?
I never rode it in my life. I looked at it a couple times, but never rode it. But it was actually a really special board, really special because my heart was kind of like, I'm sure you know how it is, but before big swells or special moments like that, your heart, it's not like, I don't feel like nervous, but I feel like sometimes my heart is going at another rate, or it's like, it just feels like my heart goes like a little different when I'm excited. I could feel my heart kind of like tuk, 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 or like something picks up. And there's these certain surfboards I have where when I put them under my arm, no matter how special or big or crazy the situation is, I put these boards under my arm, my heart, everything just like slows down, and I start like almost laughing. Like it turns into a giggle. Like it turns from like a nerve, like not nervous, but like a oh shit, like kind of thinking a little bit, to like thinking about serious things, to like instantly when I put the board under my arm, I just start giggling and laughing and thinking about how like, you were such a girl like 5 minutes ago. You were worried about that wave.
It's like a relationship with your surfboard.
Yeah.
That you have so much confidence in. You're just like,
dude, you feel it. It like shoots across. I don't know. I feel it just shoot across me. Like as soon as I put it under my arm. But that board, because I remember watching the movies and I was doing all these things to trick my brain to be like, it's all good. I'm going to do good. Like this is how I do it. I've been through this, but this is probably the maximum test. But that time, I remember going downstairs and still feeling my heart or that uneasy. Maybe it's uneasy. Mm-hmm. Like if you feel uneasy or something. I just remember as soon as my dad's like, check the board. I like finally was like, okay, this is the board I'm using tomorrow. Let me see this thing. Like, oh, and I put it under my arm, and instantly I was like, no, I think I put the 9.8 first because I was like, it might not be that big. I put it under, and my heart was still like scared. And my dad's like, yep, I used that in a heat with Andy. And usually that would be more than enough for me to like be like, yeah, okay, I'm using a board that my dad rode with Andy in a heat at the Eddy.
Yep.
But then I still felt like it might be 100 feet. I really think it's gonna be 100 feet. And then I put the board down, and then I grabbed the big one and I put it under my arm, and all of a sudden I started laughing at me. And then I think someone just called and was like, bro, it's gonna be so big. And I was just like, I'm like, bro, it's gonna be so big. I know. And then I put the board under my arm. I started laughing. I'm like, I'm gonna call him back and call him a bitch. And I was because I was a bitch too with him. Don't get me wrong, but he was in the heat contest too the next day. But I was just like, felt my board. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna tell him he's a bitch, bro. Like, I'm gonna tell him I feel good right now. And then yeah, I think I called and told him, hey, you need a board. It's the board. I know why you're not feeling good. Just get a board. You need a bigger board. He's like, okay. And then I don't know what he did. I think he went smaller and felt good. He's like, I don't know. I got a smaller one. Made me feel better. I'm like, you guys are just like,
okay. So the morning of the Eddie, what are you doing?
Oh shit. We went deep, not topical. So, okay, now we'll keep it topical. I ended up just using that board. Felt good. I want to go deep again though, because I had the craziest night that night. I went to sleep and I usually never dream. And I had these crazy dreams with my dad, like crazy dreams where like this reaper was constantly following us. We were like in France, like we'd be in Lacanau, you know, or something. And there'd just be this like weird, not like a reaper in black, but it's just a weird person. Like, and we'd always end up like, I'd be like, Dad, this guy's following me. He'd be like, do whatever you want. I'd be like, okay, I'm going to let him go, you know, and I'd let him go forever. And then all of a sudden I'd be like, Dad, this guy's still following me. He'd be like, what do you want to do? I'd be like, I want to hit him. Or like, cause I knew I was in the dream or something, you know, and I'm like, I want to like beat him up, or I'd be like, I'm going to tell him no. So I'd turn around, hey, beat it, get out of here. And the guy had like, she's like a reaper guy. And I'm like, get out of here, bro. We're over you following us. And the guy just sit there like always going to be there vibe, you know? And I'm just like, what the fuck? And I'd start walking and I'd be like, Dad, I'm going to slap the guy, you know, like whatever. And Dad's like, yeah, go ahead if you think that's right. Boom, slap the in my dream, you know, boom, slap the guy. Boom, he's not leaving, you know what? Stomp him out, boom, 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 you know, in the dream. Beat him to a pulp, grab a pipe, boom, boom. Killing the guy, you know, and then my dad's sitting there. I'm like, Dad, this guy won't stop, you know, get up, start walking. He's following me. I'm like, Dad.
All the night before the Eddie.
It felt like, I don't know how long it really was, but I was gnarly. It literally felt like the whole night I was beating the shit out of this reaper guy. And then sometimes I'd be like, Dad, help me. Like after the 20th time, you know, and my dad would come over and start kicking him in the head. Bah, bah, bah. And I'd just be like, we'd be like, hey, I got him. Thanks, Dad, for helping. I think if you helped, we got him. You know, all of a sudden we'd be in like, I think somewhere else in Europe or somewhere, you know, it was just weird. And then before you know it, my dad was just like, he's always going to be there. Like, I can't believe you're still falling for this. Like,
wow.
Just like relax, you know? And eventually I'm like, okay, I'm just going to let you go. Go, Dad. And then he left to go surf and the reaper followed him. And I was just like, had to let the reaper follow him, you know? And it was just this weird thing. And I was like, and I just remember I woke up, boom, the morning of the Eddie, I woke up. And this was when I had my hemorrhoid. So I was on my belly for 6 days straight. I couldn't even lay on my back to go to sleep. So I woke up, boom, on my belly. And I usually never sleep. I always sleep on my back. But anyway, I woke up, boom, and it's my dad turning on the light. Hey, Mace, it's on. It's time, bro. It's on. And I just looked at him. I was like, holy bro, we just fought all night. I was like, oh, bro, what? And then he's like, how you feeling? How's your ass? You know? Yeah. I was like, bro, I don't know. Let me get up. I got up like, oh, no, it's not. Nothing's changed. And he's like, okay, well, get the ice cubes. And I made a mattress in the car and let's go down there, you know? So I ended up going down there with Pops. He drove me down there, and then I just laid on the mattress. So I never looked at the ocean or anything. I rode down, and I don't know if you wanted me to say this, but
yeah,
this was the
I want you to say this. Yeah.
But yeah, there was like, yeah, no, it was pretty funny. I was just like going over there, you know, and I was like, my dad was like, we were arguing between hot and cold on the butthole, you know, on the hemorrhoid. And eventually he's like, just put an ice cube on that thing, you know? And I was like, okay. So I just remember like pulling up to the Eddie and like, you know, all the gnarly security, everyone's all, you know, crazy special morning, you know, and I'm just pulling up with my legs in the air and the ice cube on my butthole. I'm just pressing that thing like, bro, stay up there, you know, like, and then we like pull up, you know, and I'm just still thinking, I'm almost thinking, has anyone ever pulled out of the Eddie? Like, let alone for a hemorrhoid? Like, I was like, thinking about it, but I was like, I don't know, I'm not gonna, but I'm like, but it was going through my head. Like I was thinking, has anyone?
Yeah.
And then I just pulled up, you know, and my dad's like, hold on, wait right here, you know, and Burger was right there. What's up, Mason? Poof, open the sliding door. He's like, whoa. Oh, my legs are in the air. And I'm like, shut it. What the I'm gonna shut the door. And he's just like, poof, shut the door. Then he opens the front door and jumps in. I'm like, whoa. He's like, bro, what's up? You ready, bro? It's like 100 feet. I was like, oh my God. I'm like, bro, what? Are you serious? And he's like, nah, not like, you gonna look at it? Well, he's like, whoa, you're laid out, literally. And because I was on the mattress. Yeah, laying on the mattress. I pulled in, laying down, and then I was like, yeah, I'm laid out. Like, I don't think I'm even gonna get up to look, because if I get caught having to talk to someone, I think if I stand up for more than like 5 minutes, I'm gonna feel that throbbing, And I know if I run into Jamie, I'm gonna like rap out, probably tell him I have a hemorrhoid.
Then we're gonna shake hands, like, yeah, Mace.
Yeah, and I was giving everyone knuckles. I felt really bad because
people are like trying to come up to you and be like, Mason.
Yeah, once the heat started, and
you're like,
because I had a pretty nice day, like, but no one knew. I was just ice cubing that thing, like
in between heats.
Yeah, and all before so that morning it was actually a crazy experience. I never seen the ocean. I never looked at it. I laid in my dad's van and never even popped my head out because I just wanted the thing. It was super scary or really peaceful. I forget, but I just wanted it to stay in there, so I didn't want to get up. And then eventually, yeah, I had to get up and put on my like flotation thing. I never used that before. So it was like pretty crazy. So I put it on, had to like flex a little bit, So it's just like, whoa, I don't feel comfortable. And then Burger, luckily my friend Cheeseburger was there. Keone, he was waxing my board for me. And then my dad was there kind of just making sure I was on time. But they kept coming back like, hey, it's as big as it gets. It's as big as it gets. And I'm like, how big? I remember a couple of times asking my dad, how big? And he's like, there's no number for today. There's no number. And he's all, just use that big board. And I was like, okay. And then, yeah, I think my heat was coming up. My dad's like, hey, get ready. And I got my suit on and just kind of walked up with the board and just like walked up and just seen it. I was like, oh my God, I've never seen it like that ever in my life.
And you got huge waves that day. You and me, I feel we got two of the biggest bombs.
We had fun
that day.
Damn, that was sick. The last one, I had a freaking stitches in my leg. It was almost, I'd almost had my hemorrhoid was almost like less, or I worked with the hemorrhoid. Like the stitches this last time was like nuts because it was fresh and bruised and deep on my leg, you know, and like, it's kind of bummed, but.
Yeah, gnarly.
But stoked. But yeah, no, we got nice waves that time. Yeah, I pushed through the
hemorrhoid,
the hammy.
How long did that thing hang around for?
Oh, that was radical. It actually linked into a couple miracle deals for myself, just because I had a really nice I had a really nice Eddie that I had a nice showing, a really fun time. I went out there and I remember everyone was kind of serious and I was telling everyone, what's up, boys? And I couldn't sit on my board. So the whole heats, all the heats, I was laying off my board.
Actually,
I was telling everyone.
I heard a funny story. I heard it was like I think it was for your biggest wave, like Makua and Kala, Alexander were paddling over the top of the wave. And then you look back and you like scream something at them, and then they're both wiping out, and like you're like, yeah, boys,
no,
love you, and they're like, dude, we're like cross leashes. Makua ran over Kala's board, and they went over the falls backwards, and
it was in that heat.
Mason was like as happy as he could ever be with a hemorrhoid.
Well, it was funny because I was like kind of telling him, I was like sitting out there and everyone was really serious. And I was like, you know what would make everyone kind of laugh? I feel like if I just told them I got a hemorrhoid, and that's why I'm not sitting on my board.
Do you tell them that?
Yeah. So I'm sitting there. I'm like, yeah, boys. They like kind of look over and, and I'm like, I got a big old hemorrhoid. This is heavy. And they're just like, no one like really laughed. I'm like, okay, this is fucking nuts. I'm like, I think I like didn't watch the waves enough or something. And then, yeah, and then the wave, I remember my first wave was such a big wave. And it's kind of what you're saying, that story was, because I think what you're thinking of was on my first wave, or usually, I think it was that year, is all my waves. Because usually when I'm really psyched, super psyched, I usually yell a little something to myself, like just before I take off, like sometimes, at pipe, I'll be taking off and I'll just go, even though I know it's my turn and no one's going, I'll just be like, sorry. Or like, you know what I mean? Even though I know it's my turn, but just to like get psyched, like kind of puts you in a little Joker mood, or for the waves. That's like, so on that heat, I remember there's my first wave was like, I was like a little outside of everybody and I was like paddling, and then I seen like a couple guys like Danilo and Kala and Bruce, couple guys, Ian Walsh, everyone like turning around on this wave. Boom, they're like turning around, they're like down below me, and I'm like coming from the back, and I just remember I was paddling and they were kind of thinking, oh, are we going, and I just remember I was like, coming down, boys, or something. I think I said, coming down, boys. And then I think I think they all were like, whoa, and gave me some room. And I went and I came back out and Claw was like, what'd you say? That was sick. Or that was cool.
Yeah,
And I was like,
that's
sorry.
what it was, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, sorry. But that heat, they all crossed up, McClure and Claw. It was pretty nuts.
Gnarly.
And I was like, woohoo, yeah, I got a hemorrhoid, yada, yada, yada. So it probably came off like, okay, something's going on. And then, but the next heat on that my biggest wave of the Eddie that year, the one I ate it on, I would have never went. But like Uncle Clyde, I mean, I've said this story a few times, but long story short, I like tried to shock at Uncle Clyde, and Uncle Clyde's dead serious.
Yeah.
He just looked at me like, bro, now it's not just looked at me like, and just looked away, just shined me, super gnarly, but not shined me, but gave me a shock of like through the spiritual world, and I was a little young and maybe I didn't even know, but I was just like, what? Uncle Clyde didn't shotgun me. And right when I was thinking that, boom, the hugest waves came. And I was thinking, oh, I'm going to get one of these right. Or I'm like, he started paddling and I like purposely paddled outside to let him know. Cause I didn't want to just turn while he was paddling out.
Yeah.
So I paddled out and then got in front of him, got in his view. And I went like this. And I just turned around right by him. I just looked at him. I went, yeah, baby. and then he just kind of looked at me like, and then I just remember Kala was right next. So Kala heard that one too. Cause I think he was stoked. Kala was like, yeah. Cause that one I just looked at Uncle Clyde and I was like, yeah, baby. And I just started paddling. and then I remember Uncle Clyde gave me the look like, yeah, baby. Like he looked at me like before it was like more serious. And that one, when he seen me turn and he was like, when I was like, yeah, baby. He like looked at me like, yeah, baby. Like he like gave me the look, like the spiritual, yeah, baby. Like he knew it was on,
Yeah.
And then I got to go. So I was like, I don't even care if I die. And then it felt, it was super fun and super cool.
That was a nuts day. I mean,
special day.
I remember like paddling out in my first heat, and like I remember because I think Clyde was the heat before me, and they're like it's not breaking where Waimea normally breaks.
Outside,
it's breaking outside. So I took my normal lineup at Waimea, and I tried to like make a new lineup.
Move it out.
Yeah, I moved it out, and it somehow it worked. But then I was like at Waimea, like if Mason is sitting here and I'm sitting here, and Mason's going, Mason is gonna get the score. I'm not. So it's kind of like outfoxing the fox. I'm like,
yeah.
I remember sitting there with Jamie Mitchell and like Jamie Sterling and like Reef McIntosh and all the gnarliest guys. I'm kind of like you. Like I'm like, I like surfing big waves, but I'm not out there every single swell. I'm not chasing it. But I'm like looking at these waves. I'm like, oh,
you're chasing those days.
And I'll perform on those days.
Yeah,
I'm like, I just want to be a little deeper than them.
Yeah.
Like I don't care. Like if that was you, Mason,
that's
and you,
mad dog.
I would mad dog
a little
you
deeper
the same way I did a pipe. But like
that's ruthless.
That's just
bro.
like me.
I thought, why man, we'd have a little soft spot, bro.
Oh yeah.
I understand what you're saying. You did really good too that day. You did good of being on the ones like behind. I see what you're saying. What you did.
I was trying to get the biggest, baddest wave. And dude, I'm scared. Dude, I paddle out even when Waimea is 20 feet. I'm like, oh my God, I'm scared. And then I get out there and I'm so scared of myself because I don't trust myself.
Do you get less scared when you get out there?
Yes. When I get off the beach, I'm like, oh, sick.
That's how it is for me. Like it's crazy.
Like at Pipe, I'm like sitting there on the beach. I'm like, oh, frick, today's gnarly. A lot of backwash. I'm kind of nervous. Like, what board should I ride? Like, I'm like kind of scared. And I see someone walking down the path, like, and I'm like,
me.
Oh, yeah. And we have like these weird conversations, and you're like, what are you gonna ride?
That's super good one.
Yeah, and I'm like, and then once I paddle out there, it's like my thing is like I don't trust myself.
You're just psyching.
Yeah. Well, I'm like I understand what I can do, and I gotta remind myself, but then I don't trust myself because I'm scared of myself.
Oh yeah, I know that one. That's like really like that.
Me and you,
I love that.
If the biggest baddest wave comes in at Pipe or Backdoor or at Off the Wall, Waimea, anywhere we are in the world, we're gonna go.
If we're out there, I'm
gonna look at you and
biggest
go,
pleasure.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Are you going, Mason? You're gonna
live or die.
And then I'm like, I'm going.
Yeah.
And if you give me half a second, I'm going. If I give you half a second, you're going. Like there's people like that in these lineups that are like, they're pissed off. They're going. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like
they're so happy they're going.
But it's true. Like you're not scared. You're just like happy.
No. Yeah.
Like,
you finally, I feel like there's the big barrier of getting out there or for me, it's more like to get out there is the scary part. Once I'm out there, it's almost like, I swear, once it could be those Eddie days. I literally dream of those days,
all the waves I thought that I was gonna die on, I didn't even come close to dying on.
Yeah, they're
all
your
the
funnest times.
yeah, all the ways I didn't expect to maybe almost die on. Those are the waves that like kind of like put me in shock.
You. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like maybe like a year and a half ago, I almost broke my neck at Pipeline, and it was on a 5-foot wave at the end.
Yeah.
I never thought I would get hurt at the end of Pipeline. Like, like I was
That's where I got hurt too.
Yeah,
a couple months ago.
So it's like, don't ever underestimate the value of like a smaller wave.
Yeah,
I think
just always be on your game, huh?
Always be like all reflexes ready to move. You know, understanding where you are.
Yeah.
We're gonna end this vlog or this pod. Just real quick, couple of last questions for Mason.
Yeah, easy. No worries, Jamie.
No, we're cruising.
It's too easy.
No, we're gonna have to redo this because we didn't really get through much.
Yeah, whatever.
Just a couple heats and a little banter.
Right. It's a shit ton of hemorrhoid. Nah, I'm ready. I'll be home for a while. Part 1, part 2.
Yeah. What's next for Mason Ho?
What's next for me?
Yeah. What are you doing?
Like in a year or in the next month or in
the next 6 months.
In the next 6, right in the middle.
Yeah. We'll throw you to October.
I like that. Okay, so no. So I'm just pretty much right now I'm injured.
Yep.
So I'm trying to heal this injury. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty much on like the 6th week of being out of the water. So I think I'm on the tail end of it. So I'm gonna start surfing again.
Yep.
And I want to, what is it, May now? Or am I allowed to even say dates?
Yeah. This thing's dropping like this Friday. It is the 24th of May.
Okay.
And this vlog drops in, what's the Friday?
Real deal. I like that. Fresh.
Or this podcast. I keep
pod flare.
Pod.
I like that pod. Just call it
the pod.
26.
It'd be sick. You're almost so professional.
2 days out.
If you do it, what if you just pretend you go malfunction and just call it a pod every time? Like,
you know, honestly, I was like almost thinking, I was like, dude, imagine if we did like the Jamie O and Mason Ho podcast.
We could just do this all day
long.
Too easy.
Yeah.
So what's next for me? Heal this ankle, surf. I want to just, to be honest, I'm telling myself it's going to be like the truest form of my rebirth. Just cause I haven't been out of the water for this long.
Yeah.
Like I got hurt in January. I got hurt at the eddy. Every time I've surfed, it was kind of just, I had 1 or 2 days in. I was like, boom, re-injury, 5 weeks. Boom, did this. Boom, 5 weeks. Boom. So, before all this happened to me, I was getting away for years. Like I never had I had injuries where I was out for maybe a week, a week, but nothing like really severe where it's like 14 days or 4 weeks. You know, I never had the 4 weeks. I was always getting away with murder. And then, it seemed like this year, something about 2023, I just got hit with all kind right in a row.
The Reaper came after you.
The Reaper.
He followed you from the eddy swell.
Right. I should have just let him go the whole time. But yeah, the Reaper got me this year. So I've been out. It's May, like you said, it's May, and I haven't surfed. So I feel like I want to just like rebirth, you know. But it also, before this happened, I never, I couldn't handle missing. I had a few things where I would never miss them. I'd do anything to get what I want, you know, certain places that year, certain times a year, this or that. And this year I kind of had to take like a back seat, or I just didn't get to do anything I wanted to do. I missed all the winter swells. I missed the shootout. I almost missed the eddy, but I missed, I just missed all kind of swells, all my favorite spots. I missed, the wedge, like you're at the wedge, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's all because the injury, you know. I missed like a season. I like to kind of sneak to Tahiti. I like to do a couple things here and there, you know, and I kind of missed everything. So I feel like I've came to some place in my life, or like now I feel like I'm in like this cool place where I'm almost at peace with a lot of stuff going on. And, I'm also doing a lot of physical therapy for my body because I had all kinds of injury for my neck and my arms and my legs. So I feel like I'm all kind of like a little more strong than I used to be. And before, I think if I got hurt, just one of these, I would have just shrugged it off and been like, like I got this. Yeah, like I got this. This is just another day. But since it threaded me or dug me so down into this hole, I feel like I'm literally going to keep on my physical therapy and keep my like neck and shoulders and ankles and body, like keep the exercises going, and because they're really simple and easy, just a band, you know. But I could feel the difference. I like feel like I'm almost flexing right here, sitting with you. I can almost see why these guys work out. I feel like I'm flexing, but I probably look like I'm all fucking drooping. But it feels good. Like my core, I just feel, I don't know, it feels good, and I just want to surf like this and just check how it is.
He's physically and mentally there. That's good. This is a good Mason Ho. This is the Mason Ho we want.
Yeah, usually just my surfing's there, and maybe my physical I'm barely hanging on, or my mental is.
And then the Grim Reaper is right here.
Yeah, the Reaper is always creeping around. So I feel like I'm super good. I've came to peace with the Reaper. Kind of give that guy a lay. I'll give him a lay. Fucking brighten him up a bit. Just get back in the water.
Anyways, pleasure talking with you. You guys watching this podcast. Appreciate you. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, really appreciate you. Make sure you guys check out Mason Ho's YouTube channel. The link will be in the description below and right here after we end this video. And yeah, to all the viewers and listeners out there, appreciate you guys' continued support. And yeah, I don't know. We're just on the 7 Mile Miracle, living the dream. Yeah.
Support the oil tycoon, bro. No.
Mason called
I'm
me the
baby
oil
tycoon.
The oil tycoon.
No, this guy is the master, bro.
No, but hey, just for the YouTube listeners, I was just talking to the guys behind.
Get your notepads out.
No, I was like, dude, what if we started a separate podcast together?
Yeah.
Or maybe this one just goes away and it's just like, it's like the JOB Mason Ho banter, like let's just go off.
Dude, you already got you already dug the hole into the ground. So you're telling me I could just come with my oil stick and just
stick it in,
just kind of stick it in, and flare up with you? We can. Dude, that would be insane. Just half line it up. Yeah, like I'll just.
I think we got something fun in the works.
Whoa, maybe. Okay. Just maybe makes or.
I think the whole world just wants to hear you talk more, and I think the banter. I think there's some
too easy and fun, huh? Yeah. Let's do it, pal.
But all right, peace, everyone. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks for watching.
Good times.
Love you, brother.
Don't forget for the YouTube peeps, click the link right here, subscribe, and right here to watch more videos. And we'll see you in the next podcast or on Monday for the next vlog. Hope you guys are psyching. Peace.
You.